Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the show if you're enjoying this content. And if you're really digging it, we'd love it if you'd leave a review. It really helps other listeners find the show. You can find a link to today's article in the description below. So today we're tackling the sometimes murky world of HR expertise. We're going deep into Sylvia Ola's article, The ABC Players of HR. So think of it like this. You're at a huge HR conference. Pumped to hear from big-name speakers with impressive titles. But here's the twist. Are they truly thought leaders pushing the field forward? Or just B, players echoing the latest trends? This deep dive is your secret decoder ring to tell the difference.
Yeah. I think what's so interesting about this article is that it gives you a framework. You know, a way to see through the smoke and mirrors. Ola breaks down HR professionals into three categories: A, B, and C players. And understanding the distinctions between them can be a game changer for your own career and for your company's success. Especially if you're hiring for HR roles, you absolutely need to know who you're getting.
Okay, let's dive into these categories. Now, Ola doesn't sugarcoat it. C players are straight up detrimental to a company. They lack competence, their processes are a mess. And the reputation within the company, well, let's just say it's not stellar.
And the scary part is that their incompetence can have a ripple effect throughout the entire organization. We're not just talking about inefficiency here. Think about it. A C player in HR could botch a hiring process, bringing in the wrong people. Or they could completely mismanage a sensitive employee relations issue and open the company up to legal risks. The damage they can do is pretty significant.
So C players avoid at all costs. Now, B players are a bit trickier to spot because they can be masters of disguise. They might have those fancy titles, CHRO, VP of Talent, you name it. They're presenting at conferences, their LinkedIn profiles are glowing. But when you really listen to what they're saying, it's all pretty generic.
Exactly. They're masters of repackaging existing ideas, hopping on every trend that comes along without truly considering if it's relevant to their company or their people. They're all about appearances, about fitting in, not rocking the boat. Ola even points out that some B players might push social agendas just because it's trendy without really analyzing whether it makes sense for their specific workforce. It's like they're checking boxes instead of truly leading.
You know, I think we've all been to those conferences where the keynote speaker sounds incredibly impressive. But when you boil it down, they haven't really said anything new. You walk out feeling like you just wasted a ton of money on recycled buzzwords. And Ola actually calls us out. She says, a lot of these so-called gurus we're paying big bucks to hear are really just B players in disguise.
It's so easy to get caught up in the hype, especially when you're surrounded by other professionals who seem to be buying it. It's like a collective illusion. And that's precisely what Ola is warning us against, falling for the trap of impressive titles and flashy presentations. Just because someone is a CHRO or has spoken at dozens of conferences doesn't automatically make them a thought leader.
It's like that saying, don't judge a book by its cover. You really have to look beyond the surface, dig into the substance of their ideas. Are they offering practical solutions? Are they challenging conventional wisdom or just regurgitating what everyone else is saying?
Yeah, and one of the key differentiators Ola highlights is that A, players, the true innovators, always ask two crucial questions before implementing any new idea or program. Do my people need or want this? Does my business need this? They're constantly evaluating relevance and practicality, which B players often overlook.
Yeah, that's a point that really resonated with me. I've seen this firsthand in organizations where a new HR initiative is rolled out with fanfare, but it ends up being a complete flop because nobody actually bothered to ask employees if they needed or wanted it.
It's a classic case of form over function, which B players are particularly susceptible to. They get so caught up in following the latest trends that they forget to consider the real-world impact on their organization and its people.
So how do we as listeners and as HR professionals avoid falling into this trap? How do we become more discerning when evaluating these so-called experts?
Well, Ola offers some great advice. She suggests looking for evidence of independent thinking. Are they presenting fresh perspectives, ideas that haven't been rehashed 1,000 times before? Are they willing to challenge the status quo, even if it means going against popular opinion?
That takes courage, doesn't it? To stand up and say, hey, maybe this trendy new approach isn't the right solution for us. It's much easier to just go with the flow, especially when everyone else seems to be doing it.
Absolutely, and that's why A players are so rare. They're not afraid to go against the grain, to question assumptions, to push back against the tide. They're driven by a genuine desire to make a positive impact. not by a need for recognition or approval.
And that brings up another interesting point from the article. Players are often hidden in plain sight. They're not necessarily the ones with the flashiest titles or the biggest social media followings. They're quietly working behind the scenes, making a real difference in their organizations.
They're the ones who are truly passionate about their work, who are constantly learning and evolving, and who are always looking for ways to improve the employee experience. They're not motivated by self-promotion. They're motivated by a desire to make things better.
Which can make them harder to spot, especially in a world that's obsessed with personal branding and visibility. But if you know what to look for, those A players are out there.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who are truly shaping the future of HR.
And one of the key things to look for is their ability to adapt and tailor their approach to the specific needs of their organization. They understand that there's no one-size-fits-all solution in HR. What works for one company might be a disaster for another.
Right. Players don't just blindly implement the latest trend. They analyze it, they dissect it, and they figure out how to make it work for their unique context.
And speaking of context, Ola makes a really important point about how even the most brilliant A player can struggle in an environment that doesn't support their approach. It's like planting a seed in barren soil. It's not going to thrive.
That's a great analogy. So it's not just about finding the right people. It's also about creating the right environment, a culture that fosters innovation and encourages people to challenge the status quo.
Exactly. Organizations need to be willing to embrace new ideas, even if they're unconventional or disruptive. They need to create a space where people feel safe to experiment, to take risks, and to learn from their mistakes.
And that requires a shift in mindset, not just at the leadership level, but throughout the entire organization. It's about creating a culture of psychological safety, where people feel comfortable speaking up, sharing their ideas, and challenging the way things have always been done.
Because ultimately, it's those A players, those innovators and change makers, who are going to help organizations navigate the complexities of the modern workplace. And to do that, they need the freedom to operate, to think outside the box, and to challenge the status quo.
This whole conversation has been really eye-opening, especially that point about so many HR gurus being B players. It makes you wonder, what does real thought leadership look like in the HR field?
It's a great question, and it's one that Ola doesn't explicitly answer in the article, but I think it's something that we as HR professionals need to be constantly reflecting on. What are the qualities that define true leadership in this field?
Is it about having all the answers? Or is it more about asking the right questions, being willing to admit when you don't know something, and constantly seeking out new knowledge and perspectives?
I think it's a combination of both, you know? A true thought leader in HR needs to have a deep understanding of the field, but they also need to be humble enough to acknowledge that they don't have all the answers. They're always learning, always evolving, always pushing themselves to think differently.
And they're not afraid to challenge the status quo, even if it means ruffling some feathers. They're driven by a vision for a better future of work, and they're willing to take risks to make that vision a reality.
And it's also about empowering others to lead. A true thought leader doesn't hoard knowledge or try to control everything. They create a culture where everyone feels empowered to contribute, to innovate, and to make a difference.
That's so crucial, especially in today's rapidly changing world of work. We need leaders who can inspire and motivate their teams to adapt, to learn new skills, and to embrace new ways of working.
And I think that's where the A players really shine. They're not just focused on their own success. They're invested in the success of their teams and their organizations. They understand that true leadership is about serving others, not just leading them.
This whole conversation has been so insightful, and I think it's really challenged me to think differently about HR leadership.
Yeah.
It's not just about titles or buzzwords. It's about the impact you're making on people's lives. It's about creating a more humane, equitable, and fulfilling work experience for everyone.
And that's ultimately what Ola's article is calling for. A shift in focus from chasing trends and accolades to creating real lasting value for organizations and their people.
So to wrap things up, what's the key takeaway for our listeners? If you're at a conference staring down a speaker with a massive title or reading an article about the latest HR trend, what should you be asking yourself?
Ask yourself, is this person a thought leader or a thought follower? Are they truly innovating, or are they just repackaging old ideas? And most importantly, how can I apply these insights to my own work to become a more effective and impactful HR professional?
Great questions to ponder. And as always, we encourage you to continue the conversation on social media, share your thoughts, your insights, and your own experiences with the ABC players of HR. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep diving deep.